Testing, testing. 2, 3, testing, testing, testing. earthlings, eldritch creatures, and beings of all sorts. Hello. How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a fantastic day / night / time zone / time does not exist. And the universe is all that you want it to be, all that you need it to be, and more. Hello, Annoyed Pumpkin. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Pretty good, but a little hot. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope the weather cools off for you, so that way you can just be pretty good. Because pretty good is pretty good. Thank you so much for being here today. We're gonna be trying out something new, trying out some ASMR. And we'll see how it goes. It might, might be a little messy. Might not be the best ASMR you've ever heard before, but that's okay. That's okay. Life is all about trying new things and learning, and also failing a lot of the time. Failing in order to move forward. So we're gonna be learning. If the audio mixing is not too good, please let me know. And I will try to adjust it. I don't really have a set plan for today besides just chatting. Just chatting, just having a little chat about life and the universe and all that the universe holds within it. So it's very open. You have anything you want to talk about? By all means, chat away, and I'm happy to just kind of see where the day takes us, see where conversations take us. Yes. How's my day? My day, I'm feeling pretty sleepy. Pretty sleepy, which is great for sleepy Saturdays, because then I feel like keeping my voice lower and like whispering a little bit more. It comes a little bit more naturally, rather than if I was having a very high energy day, then I might talk very loudly, as more of my default, because I have a lot of difficulty manually modulating the pitch and tone of my voice. Yeah, but I'm feeling a little sleepy today. I haven't been sleeping very well. I've been struggling for the past few weeks with a springtail infestation where I live, which springtails, they're little tiny bugs. They're little tiny bugs. Content warning here. We're gonna be talking about bugs for a moment. So if you don't like bugs, if you have a phobia of bugs, be forewarned. We're just gonna be talking about this for a few minutes. Yes, springtails. That's what they're called. They're these little tiny bugs, where outside they're pretty great. Outside they're pretty great because they eat decaying plant matter and rot, and all of that stuff. So they're pretty great when they're outside, and they're pretty great in like terrariums or vivariums, for example, that have plants or small animals in them, because they help keep it as an enclosed ecosystem. They help keep it functioning. They help keep it running. But it's been so humid. It's been so humid where I live lately, and I live in a place that is not very well sealed. It's not very well sealed from the outside, and the landlords have not maintained it the best. So lots of little creatures can get in, much to my dismay, because as much as I can appreciate the role that bugs play in an ecosystem, I also have a bit of a phobia of them. And by a bit of a phobia of them, I mean a lot of a phobia of them. But so because it's been so humid out lately, and that's making my house very humid, the springtails they've made their way inside my house. And they're hopping and they're jumping all around, all like in my bed, which is not great. That's not ideal, because then when I try to sleep, I can feel them crawling on me, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. That's not great for me, especially because I have a hard enough time sleeping even without things crawling on me. I'm a little bit like, you know, the story of the Princess and the Pea, the fairy tale, the Princess and the Pea. I'm a little bit like that, where the smallest thing, the smallest piece of fuzz in the bed, the smallest noise, the smallest movement, anything like that, I will wake up very quickly, very quickly. I am a very light sleeper. I am a very precocious sleeper. I do not have an easy time sleeping. So having all of these little bugs crawling on me, which I have a phobia of as well, it's not great. It's not great. So the long and the short of it is that I've been struggling to sleep. I've been struggling to sleep a lot lately. So I'm quite sleepy most days. But because I'm a big fan of trying to listen. Also, by the way, we're done talking about bugs now. We're done talking about bugs now. So if you didn't want to hear about bugs, we're done talking about them now. We're gonna be moving on to talking to other things. I should go to sleep. I was able to get a little bit of sleep last night though, so I'm doing okay for now, but I might later in the day take a nap. Keep your health safe. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's important to listen to your body and to listen to your brain, and to take care of yourself. So I was just thinking about this last night as I was tossing and turning and really struggling to sleep. I was thinking maybe I should take this as an opportunity to listen to my body, to listen to my brain, and to really try and honor them. Because I sleep very well during the day. When it's daytime out, there's sunshine, it's nice and warm, I sleep wonderfully. I get the best sleep of my life during the day. But at night, I always struggle to sleep. It's always an uphill battle that I never quite win. I never quite win and get the kind of restful sleep that I need, no matter what I do, no matter how much effort I put into having, like, quote unquote good sleep hygiene. I don't get good quality sleep at night. So I was thinking about this as I was distinctly not sleeping last night, and I was thinking maybe I should take this as an opportunity to listen to my body and my brain and switch things up. So switch my routine up. So maybe I start trying to sleep more during the day and then staying awake and doing things at night, which I've never tried that before. I've never really had the freedom or the availability to do that before, because I've been in school or I've been working, and those are things that happen during the day. Those are things that tend to happen during the day. But now I'm not working anymore because my health is quite bad at the moment. And maybe this would be a good opportunity to see what my body and my brain is telling me, and to see if changing how I orient myself in relation to daytime and nighttime, that maybe this would be helpful for me. And of course there's the chance that it wouldn't be, and then I'll go back to, being awake during the day and sleeping at night. But I won't know if I don't try. Perhaps I'm more of a nocturnal creature than I am a diurnal creature. Is diurnal for daytime, or is that for both? I just kind of said it, but I don't actually know. Yes, diurnal is awake during the daytime. So what is it when you're Actually, can a creature be awake during both the daytime and the nighttime? Let's find out. Let's find out. Well, actually, I'll pull it up on this computer so you can hear me typing, because we're supposed to be doing some ASMR as well. So here's some typing ASMR. Oh. So here we are. So these are the different terms for how creatures in this world orient themselves towards daytime and nighttime. So there is diurnal, crepuscular, nocturnal, matutinal, and vespertine. So diurnal, by definition, means of or during the day. Animals that are diurnal are active during the day. Though times of activity of an animal are in relevance to the animal, as in it is to its advantage, it can act against it when this animal is a pet. Pets are usually diurnal, which is generally great for them, since most humans are also diurnal, so their carers will have time for them, at least partially, during the day. However, in the wild, diurnal animals have the advantage of sometimes direct sun exposure. For example, turtles, which use it for vitamin D3 synthesis, and more importantly, very good visibility. Animals that mainly rely on vision to hunt for food are usually diurnal. Diurnal prey have the advantage of easily spotting predators from a distance. Diurnal animals predominantly have colored and vivid vision. Nice keyboard sound? Yeah, I think so. I think it's very good. Here, I'll type the quick brown fox. Jumps over the lazy dog. That's a quick little typing. I don't know what those are called actually. Like exercise practice. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Is an example of what? An example of a pangram. Pangram is a sentence that uses the whole alphabet. There we go. The more you know. So anyways, crepuscular means of twilight. Crepuscular animals are active during twilight. Twilight is the illumination of the Earth's lower atmosphere when the sun itself is not directly visible. Usually, crepuscular predators are active during twilight because their prey is active during that time, and they still have a decent amount of light to hunt and forage. On the other hand, crepuscular prey can use this light to easily spot and avoid predators. In addition to that, in the wild, predators are generally least occurring during those times. This creates a state of self-regulating, oscillating equilibrium. When a prey population increases due to their crepuscular habit, predators will have more food, thus increasing their population, which in turn decreases the prey. Then the predators decrease, increasing the prey, and so on. Being crepuscular serves them well as pets when their owners are rather busy during the day. The owners are unavailable when the pet itself is inactive. And so examples of pets that would be crepuscular would be rabbits or guinea pigs. So next up is nocturnal. means done or active during the night. Nocturnal animals are usually more vulnerable to predation, so keeping active only during the night makes them somewhat quote-unquote invisible. Nocturnal predators usually have a sensitive sight and/or do not rely on visible light to see. They can also have very well-developed senses of smell and hearing. These animals are usually appropriate for pet owners who stay up late and are ready to provide for them then. Usually you could only stay up late if you wake up late, which is quite a common trend, so a small number of these animals may prove to be surprisingly appropriate pets for some. So an example of a pet that is nocturnal would be mice. Next up is matutinal, means of or occurring in the morning. Matutinal organisms wake up before diurnal organisms, so they have the advantage of consuming resources without competition. Matutinal animals are mostly bees, though let's just suppose a dog is matutinal, then it'd be suitable for early walkers who do not just wake up and rush to their job, but actually have time to care for them, at least briefly. Matutinal organisms become active during dawn, thus they share active states with crepuscular animals at dawn. So a dog is not matutinal. They were just using that as an example of how this would relate to pets. But bees are matutinal organisms. So next is vespertine, means relating or occurring in the evening. Vespertine organisms are similar to nocturnal organisms. Both are awake at similar times, so some share very close relations, as some nocturnal species are active in the evening but continue throughout the night. Vespertine organisms get to be active before most nocturnal organisms, so they can consume some resources before competition from the latter. Vespertine animals as pets are suitable for people who are unavailable during the day and return at early night. Vespertine organisms become active at dusk, thus they share the active states with crepuscular animals at dusk. And so vespertine and matutinal species are commonly considered as special cases of being crepuscular. Wow. The more you know. Species whose activity is uniformly spread across the day are ephemeral. So here we go. Species most active during dawn are matutinal. Not many pets exclusively follow this clock. In fact, mostly insects and plants are observed to follow this pattern. Species most active during dusk are vespertine. As with matutinal species, mostly insects and plants follow this pattern. Species most active during both dawn and/or dusk or twilight are crepuscular. You could call crepuscular species both matutinal and vespertine. Some examples of crepuscular animals are skunks, fireflies, and deers. Pets generally considered crepuscular are dogs, cats, rabbits, and hamsters. Though sometimes hamsters are considered nocturnal, as classifying animals as crepuscular versus nocturnal is difficult. Species most active during daytime are diurnal. Humans, for example, are diurnal. Species most active during nighttime are nocturnal. And then those whose activity is spread across the day are ephemeral. Wow, that's so interesting. I had no idea. I thought I knew of diurnal and I knew of nocturnal, but I had no idea of crepuscular or its two variations, or ephemeral. That's so interesting. Now you still study or go to work? I do not anymore. I do not anymore. So I have a lot of chronic pain and fatigue that over the past 10 years has progressively gotten worse and worse, and I am now at a point in my life where I've lost a lot of my functionality. So something like physically going to work is not possible for me at the moment. And it's likely that it might not be something that is possible for me at all moving forward. Now, if there were more remote jobs that were outside of tech that I was qualified for, then that could maybe allow me to work. But unfortunately, in my fields of study, the things that I have experience with, so like film, and then the GLAM industry, so that's the acronym is GLAM, and that stands for galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. So I sit at the intersection between the GLAM industry as a whole, and then also like communications, film, digital media, all of that. So there aren't a lot of remote jobs that would be entry level, and so it's unfortunate, but every now and then I come across one, and I apply, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm happy to be here with all of you, and to be able to stream more, and to create more art, and to write more, and to learn all kinds of new things with you all. Yes. Do I have any pets? I do. I have one dog, a mom who I call Mimo, Mimo, Mimo. And he's very silly, he's very goofy, he's very wiggly, and full of energy. He looks a little bit like a Muppet. And because he is so full of energy, sometimes I jokingly call him my little demonically possessed Muppet. He's so full of wiggles. Sometimes he's a bit like a vampire, where you open the door and you let him outside to go to the bathroom, and then when he's ready to come back in, I open the door up for him to come back in, and sometimes he's like, no, you have to invite me in. He'll just sit there, he'll just stand there outside of the threshold, and I'll have to be like, you can come on in, you can come in, and then he'll come inside. So a little bit like a vampire sometimes as well, but he's just a little small puppy dog. He's my emotional support animal as well, and he's very good at his job. For all of the wiggles that he has and all of the energy that he is very good at his job. As well. He's very comforting. He knows when I'm upset or distressed, or I need him to come and snuggle, to come and be a little snuggle baby. Yes. You have a cat and she always sleeps on the keyboard. Oh, that's so cute. I love cats. What is your cat's name? Though I suppose if your cat is sleeping on your keyboard, then you might not be able to type. So if you have to get stuff done and you have to be able to type, that could be a little bit inconvenient sometimes. But sometimes a little inconvenience is worth it. To have creatures that care about you. That care about you and want to be near you and want to spend time with you. Sometimes it is worth living with a little bit of inconvenience. in order to have those relationships with our pets and even with other people as well. It's a good thing to know yourself and to know your life and to know what inconveniences you can bear with, what inconveniences you can tolerate, in order to have these meaningful relationships with others. Yes. But I love cats. I love cats so much. I would love to have a cat as well someday. Perhaps someday. Perhaps someday. I live in a fairly rural environment, so sometimes I see some feral cats wandering around. And there was a cat who last summer came and was running around outside the woods, outside where I live. And so I was like, oh, maybe I should go place a bowl of water outside for this cat that is out there just hanging out, running around, relaxing under the shade of some trees. I should go just set a bowl of water out there. So I went and I grabbed a bowl and I filled it with water. I went to carry it outside, but I have a very heavy door. The door is very heavy. It's very difficult to open. It is stubborn. It's a stubborn door. You need to really like heave to get it open. So in doing so, in the process of opening the door, I have bells on my door, because bells can be used to protect households from some wayward creatures, some wayward beings who may not have intentions or energies that would align with yours, that would do you well. That it can ward them off, having bells on your doors. So I have bells on all of my doors, and so I think the sound of me trying to really pull to open this door and the bells on it, that it scared the little cat off. I haven't seen the cat since then, so I hope it's doing okay. I hope it's doing all right. But yes. And I hesitate to ascribe, because I feel like, so with the bells and with warding off spirits and beings and all that, I feel like a lot of times people will ascribe malicious intention to such creatures, to such beings, to such energies. And I understand that. I understand why. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with thinking that. But for me, the way that I like to think about it is that these creatures, these beings, it's not that they have malicious intention necessarily. It's just that our energies are not aligned. The way that they exist and the way that I exist are in contrast to each other. They are in contrast to each other. They are not well suited to exist in proximity to each other. And that doesn't mean that those energies, those spirits, those beings are necessarily malicious, though their actions, the effect of their energies, of their presence, might cause harm, But it's not that they're necessarily malicious. It's more so that their way of existing, their way of being, and my way of existing, and my way of being, that these two things are not in alignment. And that's okay. That's okay. So you take steps to protect yourself and to keep yourself safe and to ward off energies that are not in alignment. And so that's the way I like to think about spirits and beings that might otherwise be ascribed as evil or malicious. You know? I don't know. I don't know. That's just the way I like to think about these things. Is about there are many different ways of existing in this universe. And sometimes you will find beings who exist in a similar state to yours. Sometimes you will find beings who exist in a parallel path to yours. Sometimes you will find beings who exist in a way that is in direct contrast to yours, and who the effects of that hurt you. Yeah, and that none of these, and any possible combination thereof. You know, we live in an infinite universe with infinite possibilities, and there are many ways to exist in this universe. Whether that's as a physical corporeal being, as a non-corporeal being, as a human, as an animal, as a plant, as a ghost or a demon, or however, whatever it may be, that you believe in, or you think about, or you feel, all of that. That there are many different ways to exist in this world. And that doesn't mean that any one of those ways is there is no one right way to exist. It's however you exist, however you need to exist. That's okay. That's okay. And the same holds true for others. And that doesn't mean that you can't set boundaries, that you can't take steps to protect yourself, that you can't choose to cut contact or do any of these other things. But just that there are many different ways to exist. Yeah. So that's how I like to think about different we'll call them spirits, though I don't necessarily mean like ghosts. I mean, it would include ghosts, but there are many different energies and all of that. Yes. Do I have any country that I want to go to? That's a great question. I think I have lots of different countries that I would love to go to. I would really love to like see the world, I guess. And I don't know how feasible that is for me, but in theory, I think it would be wonderful. Go to all of these different places and see all of these different things. And I don't know, I think it would be really wonderful. I would love to go to Iceland. I would love to see the aurora borealis. I would love to see like all of the different landscapes in Iceland. Yeah, Iceland is definitely up there. I would love to go to Australia and New Zealand. Though those are quite far away for me. I think that would be really cool. I don't know. There are so many places that I would love to go to, and see. Even in the United States, there are lots of different places that I haven't been to that I would love to go to. Yeah, lots of. I really love nature, so I would like to go to all of the different national parks in the U.S. at some point. I've been to like one or two, but there are so many. There are so many, and I would love to go and get to see all of them throughout the course of my life. Vietnam, I would, yeah, yeah. I would love to go to Vietnam. I don't really know too much about it though. But I really just I like learning. I like learning, and I like having new experiences. Well, not all the time. I'm actually quite like rigid, I guess would be the word, in terms of new experiences terrify me. I want new experiences, but also new experiences terrify me. So it's a little bit of a, for me, a lot of the time, a push and like pull between what I know and what I am used to, my routines, the things that are and feel safe to me, and experiencing things that I have not experienced before, and going places that I have not gone to before, and trying things that I have not tried before. That it's even though the desire is there for all of that, that sometimes the practical application I struggle with a lot more. Because it's scary. Things that you are not used to. It can be scary to put yourself out there. If that makes sense. That makes sense. But there are many places in this world that I would love to go to. Honestly, even like Antarctica, I don't like the cold. I don't tolerate the cold very well. But even still, I think like I don't know. It's very how would I put it? I feel like these are all very like fanciful notions for me, and that I'm unlikely. I'm unlikely to be able to go to all of the different places that I would love to go to. Yeah, yeah. I do like something that I've been working on in the past few years is in like trying new things. So like my big thing has been, because I struggle a lot with food. So food is one of those things where I'm a very picky eater. I'm a very like sensory averse eater. Very very rigid in the food that I eat. I have foods that are like quote unquote safe foods, and then lots of foods that I'm like nope, nuh-uh, nuh-uh. And of course, as for most people, when I was a child, the way that the people around me approached these things that, quite frankly, were just me being very autistic, that rather than approaching it from a place of non-judgment and open curiosity and trying to facilitate meeting me where I was at with the foods that I would eat, and like how do I put it? How would I put it? Like, say for example, you have an ingredient, like this is a food that you really like, you really eat a lot. And so meeting the person where they're at to be like, okay, you like this ingredient, what are dishes, what are meals that involve that? What of the other ingredients in creating that meal would you like to eat? Would you maybe be curious about? Or what are ones that you wouldn't eat? And coming at it from more of like that perspective, it was something where people approached how I approached food with like a lot of shame and judgment, and oh, you you've taken a bite of this thing and you don't like it, well, now just don't eat. Just don't eat. You won't eat, you know? So in the past few years, I've been working on unlearning a lot of that, and in helping to create frameworks, not frameworks, that's a little too formal, but trying to engage with myself and how I relate to food in all of the ways that the adults in my life when I was just a wee baby, when I was just a child, didn't. And so in you know, being like, what are ingredients, what are foods, what are meals that I do like, and that you know, I would eat on a regular basis, and then what are all the different pieces of these, you know, and what are other meals, what are other recipes that would have these pieces, in working with myself in that way. And I feel like when it comes to like trying new things and in having new experiences, that it's like it takes time, you know. It takes time to like work with yourself, into to feel safe, to like try new things, you know, like, and like when you're a kid, when you're a child, everything is new, so you're just constantly trying new things, and it's not, it's it like is more, I feel like it's a little bit easier like when you're a kid, because you are constantly trying new things, that like you stay, it's like a practice. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like a practice. And when you're a kid, because the whole world is new, you're constantly getting that practice. But as you grow older, and as other people's, right, like opinions and the way that they approach the world affect you as well, and as you settle into, you know, your routines, your habits, all of that, that then trying to push yourself beyond those, that it can become very difficult. It can become very difficult to once even be aware of what your routines are, of what your habits are, and then two, to be able to take action, you know, to change it up, you know, or to try new things, or to let go of old routines and old habits and old patterns that do not help you anymore. Yeah. That these are things that can be difficult, and they take energy, and they take effort, and they take awareness, and they take time. They take time. And so that's something that I try to work on a lot, is to be aware of what my routines are, what my habits are, all of that stuff, what my patterns are. How did I develop those routines and those patterns and those habits? Where did they come from? You know, the why. And then you know, looking at them and their place in my life as it is now, and asking myself, is this helping me? Is this doing what I need it to do? And then if it's not, then saying, what can I do instead? Or how can I create new patterns that would help me in my life where I am at. Yeah. But that also takes time, because a pattern is not, if it's just a one-time thing, well, that's not a pattern. You've done something once. in order to like implement it as a pattern in your life, you have to practice. You have to take time and spend energy um to develop it. And that's something as well where I think that's not a one and done kind of thing, you know. That's a question that you will ask yourself your whole life, because today the pattern that you might be working on developing, that will best help you live your life in the way that you need to, in the way that you want to. That's not necessarily going to be what is going to work for you in the future, whether that's a few days from now, a month from now, a year from now, or decades from now. That we are all constantly changing, and the way that we interact with ourselves and with the world around us is constantly changing. And yeah, I think I went on a little bit of a tangent there. I think that was just a little bit of a tangent where I got a little almost said side railed. I was combining sidetracked and derailed in my brain. But yes. There are many places. There are many places in this world that I would love to go to. There are many things that I would love to try. But right now I'm at a point in my life where I struggle to like even leave my house. I struggle with that quite a bit, so I gotta take it slow. And try to slowly enter the world again, let's say. Because I feel like I live in a very isolated kind of way. And that, you know, in the past few years or so, that was what I needed. That was what I needed to keep myself safe. That was what I needed to feel safe as well. So not just to be safe, but to feel safe. And also in listening to my body and my brain. But now I'm at a point where like I want to be able to go out and do things, you know, and I want to be able to leave my house and to just go where the wind takes me. I guess, I don't know. Like I feel envious when like for example, my dad, sometimes he'll drive and then he'll see something that interests him and he'll pull over and he'll go in and he'll check out this restaurant or like whatever it may be. You know what I mean? And that's just something that he can do, you know. But for me, when I'm driving, I get too, I can't I don't know how to phrase it. I don't know how to put it into words. Like being able to like yeah, go where the wind takes you is not, that's not a skill that I've really developed yet. Something that I've got to work on. Yeah, I get very stuck. Yeah, I get very stuck in my routines. I do have some different ASMR. What are they called? Are they called triggers in ASMR, or are they called tingles? I have some different like sounds, let's say, that we could do for cheers, subs, gift subs, tips on Ko-Fi, and any of that kind of stuff. and I have some different options. So like there's bells. I could go get the bells from off of one of my doors and ring those. I gotta sleep now. Thank you so much for being here, Annoyed Pumpkin. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good restful sleep, and that you have lots of good dreams. But thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Good night. So I have bells. That could be one sound. To blow some air. I have brushing. I have a lot of different paint brushes. So I could try brushing the microphone or the keyboard or my skin. I don't know. We can try some different things out. I also have some claws. I have some metal claws as well. So we could try tapping on some different things with those. We could do some deep breathing. I have some dice that I could roll. I have a little metal fish like music box, or it's not a box. It's like a figurine, but you wind it up and it plays music. So there's that. Some humming. I have some loose keyboard keys that I could kind of move around a little bit. I have some magnetic rocks as well. I have a measuring tape. Could do some mouth popping or pen clicking, or pop socket popping. I collect like fortunes from fortune cookies, so I could pull a fortune and read it for you. Or I have a pin collection, so I could pull a pin and describe it for you. Most of them are Disney pins, but I do have a few other pins in there. Just a few. I have some scissors. There's shushing. Could do a small tarot spread. We also have the one card tarot channel points redeem as well. Though that is an online thing. That wouldn't be me physically handling the tarot cards. Like the small tarot spread for the cheers subs, gift subs, or tips would be. Some tongue clicking. I could practice the ukulele. I'm not very good at it. I'm just learning. But I would be happy to try and learn a little bit here with all of you. Or just general vocal stimming. Those are so far what I've thought of for different sounds that we could do for ASMR. For cheers, subs, gift subs, tips on Ko-Fi. You can choose one of those, or you can make a suggestion that is TOS and safe for work. Yes. I also have a book here. It's Rachel Carson's The Edge of the Sea. So if you don't know, Rachel Carson is a writer and an environmentalist. She is most known for her work, Silent Spring, which is formative text in environmentalism. But Rachel Carson, prior to Silent Spring, first and foremost, was a writer about the ocean. And so The Edge of the Sea is... She has one other book about the ocean as well, so I don't know if The Edge of the Sea is the first of her books, or if it's later on, but it is a book that she wrote about the coast, basically, where sea meets land. So she wrote about all of that, and so we could go ahead and we could read through some of that. Also, as well, an important thing to note about Rachel Carson is that it is thought that she she wrote a number of intimate letters to a female friend, and so it's thought that they were each other's life partners in a way. Yes. So Rachel Carson is also thought to be a lesbian. Yes. Even though, of course, with historical figures, there is sometimes some debate as to whether you can ascribe modern understandings of sexuality to historical figures. Yes, but it's something that is discussed a lot. It's something that is debated a lot in terms of applying labels to historical figures. Yes, but it is thought that Rachel Carson was a lesbian, which I think is really cool. That's really neat. So yeah, let's read some. Let's read some of this. I'm not gonna read all of it, of course, because copyright. But we can go ahead and read some of it. Let me go ahead and get to the first one. So this is the first chapter, and it is called The Marginal World. The edge of the sea is a strange and beautiful place. All through the long history of Earth, it has been an area of unrest where waves have broken heavily against the land, where the tides have pressed forward over the continents, receded, and then returned. For no two successive days is the shoreline precisely the same. Not only do the tides advance and retreat in their eternal rhythms, but the level of the sea itself is never at rest. It rises or falls as the glaciers melt or grow, as the floor of the deep ocean basins shifts under its increasing load of sediments, or down in adjustment to strain and tension. Today, a little more land may belong to the sea, tomorrow, a little less. Always, the edge of the sea remains an elusive and indefinable boundary. The shore has a dual nature, changing with the swing of the tides, belonging now to the land, now to the sea. On the ebb tide, it knows the harsh extremes of the land world, being exposed to heat and cold, to wind, to rain, and drying sun. On the flood tide, it has a water world, returning briefly to the relative stability of the open sea. Only the most hardy and adaptable can survive in a region so mutable, yet the area between the tide lines is crowded with plants and animals. In this difficult world of the shore, life displays its enormous toughness and vitality by occupying almost every conceivable niche. Visibly, it carpets the intertidal rocks, or half-hidden, it descends into fissures and crevices, or hides under boulders, or lurks in the wet gloom of sea caves. Invisibly, where the casual observer would say there is no life, it lies deep in the sand in burrows and tubes and passageways, tunnels into solid rock, and bores into peat and clay. It encrusts weeds or drifting spars or the hard, chitinous shell of a lobster. It exists minutely, is a film of bacteria that spreads over a rock surface or a wharf piling as spheres of protozoa, small as pinpricks, sparkling at the surface of the sea, and as Lilliputian? I don't know how to pronounce that. Beings swimming through dark pools that lie between the grains of sand. The shore is an ancient world. For as long as there has been an earth and sea, there has been this place at the meeting of land and water. Yet it is a world that keeps alive the sense of continuing creation and of the relentless drive of life. Each time that I enter it, I gain some new awareness of its beauty and its deeper meanings, and seeing that intricate fabric of life by which one creature is linked with another, and each with its surroundings. So that was from the first chapter, The Marginal World. Perhaps skip ahead. Let me see. What else do we want to read? Alright, so this next excerpt is from the second chapter, Patterns of Shore Life. Hello, Mellowfera. Hello. How are you doing? How are you doing? I hope that you are having a great day / night / time zone / time does not exist. Hello. What the Sigma? Indeed. I'm reading some different excerpts from Rachel Carson's book, The Edge of the Sea. And Rachel Carson was an environmentalist, famous for her work, Silent Spring. But she was, first and foremost, she wrote a lot about the ocean. And so this book, The Edge of the Sea, is about where the ocean meets land, so the coast, really, the coastline. All the life of the shore, the past and the present, by the very fact of its existence there, gives evidence that it has dealt successfully with the realities of its world, the towering physical realities of the sea itself, and the subtle life relationships that bind each living thing to its own community. The patterns of life as created and shaped by these realities intermingle and overlap, so that the major design is exceedingly complex. Let's see. What else would be good to read? Okay, here we go. This is also from the second chapter, Patterns of Shore Life. This is towards the end. In the sea, there are mysterious comings and goings, both in space and time, the movements of migratory species, the strange phenomenon of succession by which, in one and the same area, one species appears in profusion, flourishes for a time, and then dies out, only to have its place taken by another and then another, like actors in a pageant passing before our eyes. And there are other mysteries. The phenomenon of red tides has been known from early days, recurring again and again, down to the present time, a phenomenon in which the sea becomes discolored because of the extraordinary multiplication of some minute form, often a dinoflagellate, in which there are disastrous side effects in the shape of mass mortalities among fish and some of the invertebrates. Then there is the problem of curious and seemingly erratic movements of fish into or away from certain areas, often with sharp economic consequences. When the so-called Atlantic water floods the south coast of England, herring become abundant within the range of the Plymouth fisheries. Certain characteristic plankton animals occur in profusion, and certain species of invertebrates flourish in the intertidal zone. When, however, this water mass is replaced by channel water, the cast of character undergoes many changes. In the discovery of the biological role played by the seawater and all it contains, we may be about to reach an understanding of these old mysteries, for it is now clear that in the sea nothing lives to itself. The very water is altered in its chemical nature and in its capacity for influencing life processes by the fact that certain forms have lived within it and have passed on to it new substances capable of inducing far-reaching effects. So the present is linked with the past and future, and each living thing with all that surrounds it. So that was a little bit from The Edge of the Sea. I'm happy to keep reading some more excerpts from that. Or we can talk more about really whatever. Today is about everything and nothing at all. Yes. But how are you doing, Mello? How are you doing? I hope you're having a great time. I have some different sounds for ASMR, for cheers, subs, gift subs, tips on Ko-Fi, all of that stuff. Lost my train of thought entirely. It's gone. It's gone forever. But that's okay. New trains of thought will come along, in due time. Oh, here's another excerpt that I quite like. And this one actually inspired me to write a poem one time. This is from the 3rd chapter, I believe, The Rocky Shores. One of my favorite approaches to a rocky seacoast is by a rough path through an evergreen forest that has its own peculiar enchantment. It is usually an early morning tide that takes me along that forest path, so that the light is still pale and fog drifts in from the sea beyond. It is almost a ghost forest, for among the living spruce and balsam are many dead trees, some still erect, some sagging earthward, some lying on the floor of the forest. All the trees, the living and the dead, are clothed with green and silver crust of lichens. Tufts of the bearded lichen or old man's beard hang from the branches like bits of sea mist entangled there. Green woodland mosses and yielding carpet of reindeer moss cover the ground. In the quiet of that place, even the voice of the surf is reduced to a whispered echo, and the sounds of the forest are but ghosts of sound. the faint sighing of evergreen needles in the moving air, the creaks and heavier groans of half-fallen trees resisting against their neighbors and rubbing bark against bark, the light rattling fall of a dead branch broken under the feet of a squirrel and sent bouncing and ricocheting earthward. But finally the path emerges from the dimness of the deeper forest and comes to a place where the sound of surf rises above the forest sounds, the hollow boom of the sea, rhythmic and insistent, striking against the rocks, falling away, rising again. Up and down the coast, the line of the forest is drawn sharp and clean on the edge of a seascape of surf and sky and rocks. The softness of sea fog blurs the contours of the rocks. Gray water and gray mists merge offshore in a dim and vaporous world that might be a world of creation, stirring with new life. The sense of newness is more than illusion born of the early morning light and the fog, for this is in very fact a young coast. It was only yesterday in the life of the earth that the sea came in as the coast subsided, filling the valleys and rising about the slopes of the hills, creating these rugged shores where rocks rise out of the sea and evergreen forests come down to the coastal rocks. Once this shore was like the ancient land to the south, where the nature of the coast has changed little during the millions of years since the sea and the wind and the rain created its sands and shaped them into dune and beach and offshore bar and shoal. The northern coast, too, had its flat coastal plain bordered by wide beaches of sand. Behind these lay a landscape of rocky hills, alternating with valleys that had been worn by streams and deepened and sculptured by glaciers. The hills were formed of gneiss and other crystalline rocks resistant to erosion. The lowlands had been created in beds of weaker rocks like sandstone, shale, and marl. I think that's all I'll read of that passage. I don't want to read too much because I don't want to violate copyright. And I don't know to what extent Twitch or YouTube would get me for reading aloud. Gonna do a little stretch. My skin is feeling a little dry, so I'm also gonna put on a little bit of hand lotion. I've been really struggling with dry skin lately. And I don't know why. Maybe, I mean, perhaps it could be the fact that I feel like I take boiling showers rather than like a lukewarm one. So I don't know, that could perhaps be why my skin is angry at me. But like I quite like well, actually, do I like boiling showers? Maybe I don't. What I really like are baths, though. I find baths to be quite nice. But the little like shower that I have that is like, you know, it's one of the ones where it has the like bathtub, like it's a shower tub. That's what they're called. That's what they're called. It has that, but the tub part of it, it doesn't hold hot water at all, really. So anytime I try to fill it up to take a bath, I just end up with like room temperature water, and that's not very fun. That's not very fun to bathe in. So I don't know. I have to figure out a better way to take showers where I'm not scalding my skin, but I'm also not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like showers they have such extremes. Where the water is either very cold, which I like. I like cold water as well. I think it can be very refreshing, but I don't want to take like a whole shower in cold water, you know. I want to like have cold water and then have warm water and then cold water and then warm water and then cold water and then warm water, because I find that to be very I feel like it helps regulate my nervous system. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like the difference in the temperature and then like alternating between the two is quite nice. It's quite nice. But I feel like in terms of like just taking like a regular standard shower, that it's only either cold water or like boiling water. There's no real good in between, where the water is like hot enough to feel comfortable, you know, to get done all that I need to get done, but not also like burning my skin. That's unfortunate. Thinking of all like lakes that have not like the lakes that are full of like, you know, the very the crystalline looking lakes. They look very like clear, and you can kind of like see all the way down, and they look very pretty. I feel like you know how in like TV shows, in like historical TV shows, or TV shows, fictional TV shows that are like they're set in like a particular time period, that anytime anyone like bathes in like one of those like lakes that look like that, I'm like, oh, that seems so nice. That seems so nice. That seems so nice. But I think probably a lot of those are very cold. They're probably very cold. So maybe it wouldn't be as nice as it seems like it would. Now I'm just thinking about C-dramas. I was watching The Double. That's what it was called. I was watching The Double on Netflix. And I quite liked it. I quite enjoyed it. I feel like the start of it was quite slow. Just like the first episode or two. I wasn't fully absorbed in it. But then after that, you know, I grew to appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So that was the one that I just recently watched. And I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it. It was full of like how do I put it? Trickery. It was full of trickery. Yes. Which I liked because normally I feel like, well, like for example, the show that I'm watching now, which I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, but it is also on Netflix, and not all of the episodes have been released on Netflix yet. The show that I'm watching now is more like political intrigue. I mean, it is also a C drama. And I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of like that kind of like genre. Not of C dramas, but of like the political like intrigue ones where it's like all the stuff in like the like political court, basically. I don't like, I'll watch them, but I don't love them, you know. But I feel like the double that it was more revenge driven. It was more revenge driven, and so the the scheming in it, I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed it more than I do necessarily in the ones where it's more about politics. You know, how are we gonna help this person ascend to the throne and stop this person from doing this or that? You know, I liked the scheming more when it was more it had more of an interpersonal basis to it. The motivation for it was more in relation to, yeah, yeah, to revenge. Yes, I mean there was also like political intrigue in it, but that wasn't the extent of it. If that makes sense. So I liked that. I enjoyed that. And then I really can't remember the name of the one I'm watching now. Like I literally just before I sat down to stream, I just watched an episode or two of it. So I don't know why I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. It's gonna bother me. Just gonna look. The Princess Royal. That's what it's called. That's the one that I'm currently watching. And like I'm watching it, you know. Well, I don't hate it, but it's not one that I like love, you know. But I have a lot of time where I can't necessarily do anything else except for watch TV and movies. So, you know, I've watched a lot of TV that I don't love, but it's something to keep my brain occupied when I don't really have the ability, the physical or mental ability to do anything else. So I don't mind it. I don't mind it. And every now and then I get a show that I didn't think I was gonna love, but I do really love it. You know, and so that's quite nice. It's quite nice. Okay. Let's read some more from The Edge of the Sea. Tide pools contain mysterious worlds within their depths, where all the beauty of the sea is subtly suggested and portrayed in miniature. Some of the pools occupy deep crevices or fissures. At their seaward ends, these crevices disappear under water, but toward the land they run back slantingly into the cliffs, and their walls rise higher, casting deep shadows over the water within them. Other pools are contained in rocky basins with a high rim on the seaward side to hold back the water when the last of the ebb drains away. Seaweeds line their walls. Sponges, hydroids, anemones, sea slugs, mussels, and starfish live in water that is calm for hours at a time, while just beyond the protecting rim the surf may be pounding. The pools have many moods. At night they hold the stars and reflect the light of the Milky Way as it flows across the sky above them. Other living stars come in from the sea, the shining emeralds of tiny phosphorescent diatoms, the glowing eyes of small fishes that swim at the surface of the dark water, their bodies slender as matchsticks moving almost upright with little snouts uplifted, the elusive moonbeam flashes of comb jellies that have come in with a rising tide. Fishes and comb jellies hunt the black recesses of the rock basins, but like the tides they come and go, having no part in the permanent life of the pools. By day, there are other moods. Some of the most beautiful pools lie high on the shore. Their beauty is the beauty of simple elements, color, and form, and reflection. I know one that is only a few inches deep, yet it holds all the depth of the sky within it, capturing and confining the reflected blue of far distances. The pool is outlined by a band of bright green, a growth of one of the seaweeds called enteromorpha. The fronds of the weed are shaped like simple tubes or straws. On the land side, a wall of gray rock rises above the surface to the height of a man, and reflected, descends its own depth into the water. Beyond and below the reflected cliff are those far reaches of the sky. When the light and one's mood are right, one can look down into the blue so far that one would hesitate to set foot in so bottomless a pool. Clouds drift across it, and wind ripples scud over its surface, but little else moves there, and the pool belongs to the rock and the plants and the sky. In another high pool nearby, the green tubeweed rises from all of the floor. By some magic, the pool transcends its realities of rock and water and plants, and out of these elements creates the illusion of another world. Looking into the pool, one sees no water, but instead a pleasant landscape of hills and valleys with scattered forests. Yet the illusion is not so much that of an actual landscape as of a painting of one. Like the strokes of a skillful artist's brush, the individual fronds of the algae do not literally portray trees, they merely suggest them. But the artistry of the pool, as of the painter, creates the image and the impression. This is a little further into the chapter, which is Let me see what this chapter is called. Is this still part of the rocky shores? It might be. Be a very long chapter, though. I think it is part of the rocky shores still. Some of the most beautiful pools of the shore are not exposed to the view of the casual passerby. They must be searched for, perhaps in low-lying basins, hidden by great rocks that seem to be heaped in disorder and confusion. Perhaps in darkened recesses under a projecting ledge, perhaps behind a thick curtain of concealing weeds. I know such a hidden pool. It lies in a sea cave, at low tide, filling perhaps the lower third of its chamber. As the flooding tide returns, the pool grows, swelling in volume until all the cave is water-filled, and the cave and the rocks that form and contain it are drowned beneath the fullness of the tide. When the tide is low, however, the cave may be approached from the landward side. Massive rocks form its floor and walls and roof. They are penetrated by only a few openings, 2 near the floor on the seaside, and 1 high on the landward wall. Here one may lie on the rocky threshold and peer through the low entrance into the cave and down into its pool. The cave is not really dark. Indeed, on a bright day, it glows with a cool green light. The source of this soft radiance is the sunlight that enters through the openings low on the floor of the pool. But only after its entrance into the pool does the light itself become transformed, invested with a living color of purest, palest green that is borrowed from the covering of sponge on the floor of the cave. Through the same openings that admit the light, fish come in from the sea, explore the green hall, and depart again into the vaster waters beyond. Through those low portals the tides ebb and flow. Invisibly they bring in minerals, the raw materials for the living chemistry of the plants and animals of the cave. They bring, invisibly again, the larvae of many sea creatures, drifting in their search for a resting place. Some may remain and settle here, others will go out on the next tide. Looking down into the small world confined within the walls of the cave, one feels the rhythms of the greater sea world beyond. The waters of the pool are never still. Their level changes not only gradually with the rise and fall of the tide, but also abruptly with the pulse of the surf. As the backwash of a wave draws it seaward, the water falls away rapidly. Then, with a sudden reversal, the inrushing water foams and surges upward almost to one's face. Skipping ahead a little bit. As I lie and look into the pool, there are moments of relative quiet. In the intervals when one wave has receded and the next has not yet entered, then I can hear the small sounds. The sound of water dripping from the mussels on the ceiling, or of water dripping from seaweeds that line the walls, small silver splashes losing themselves in the vastness of the pool, and in the confused murmurous whisperings that emanate from the pool itself, the pool that is never quite still. Then, as my fingers explore among the dark red thongs of the dulse and push away the fronds of the Irish moss that cover the walls beneath me, I begin to find creatures of such extreme delicacy that I wonder how they can exist in this cave when the brute force of storm surf is unleashed within its confined space. Skipping ahead a little bit more. So in the hidden chamber of that pool, time echoes down the long ages to a present that is but a moment. As I watched, a fish swam in, a shadow in the green light, entering the pool by one of the openings low on its seaward wall. Compared with the ancient sponges, the fish was almost a symbol of modernity, its fish-like ancestry traceable only half as far into the past, and I, in whose eyes the images of the two were beheld as though they were contemporaries, was a mere newcomer whose ancestors had inhabited the earth so briefly that my presence was almost anachronistic. As I lay at the threshold of the cave thinking those thoughts, the surge of waters rose and flooded across the rock on which I rested. The tide was rising. And that ends that chapter of The Rocky Shores. Just pulled a paintbrush out. Just brushing my skin. It does tickle a little bit though. I used to when I was a child because I have sensory processing disorder. So I'm very hypersensitive. I had to go to occupational therapy. And the occupational therapist gave my parents a plastic brush. So I don't know if anyone else knows what I'm talking about, but it's a plastic brush that it has kind of like a clear plastic and then plastic bristles, like a clear whitish plastic. And I was supposed to be brushed because this is supposed to help desensitize a child who is hypersensitive, has hypersensitive skin because of a sensory processing disorder. And so for a very long time, I had to have my skin brushed by this horrible little plastic brush. And it felt like sandpaper, like someone was taking sandpaper and trying to sand down my skin. It's quite horrible, and I really hated it, and it was very miserable. It was very miserable. Yes. But so this brush, this paintbrush, is a lot softer than that plastic brush. So even though it tickles, it's certainly better than the pain of a plastic brush. Like, I quite like this a lot better. It's a lot nicer. I don't know if it's making any sound though. But that's okay. We're learning. We're learning about ASMR. I can brush the microphone. What does that sound like? and brush my keyboard. Much to think about. And go ahead and put the brush back now. If you want to see what other sounds I can make for ASMR in that pinned chat, you can go ahead and click on that link to open up a Google document that tells you what people who have cheered, subbed, gift subbed, or tipped on Ko-Fi during this stream can ask me to make any one of those sounds on there, or you can make a suggestion for something that it has to be TOS and it has to be safe for work as well. Oh, PBS has a video on Rachel Carson. Oh, but you have to pay money to join their GBH? What is this? GBH passport. GBH Passport is the member benefit that provides you with access to an on-demand library, more than 1,600 plus shows and episodes, found in the PBS video. Oh, I see. So that's if you donate to PBS. The more you know. Maybe I'll have to do that at some point. Because I quite like PBS stuff. And I wanna support like access work. Okay, so here's an article from PBS, just because I'm exploring their website at the moment. And it is What is Aquaculture? An Overview of Sustainable Ocean Farming. This is by Audrey Porter, published on June 20th, 2024. Do you love seafood? Do you find you're eating more and more of it? Turns out most of us are. Around around the world, humans are eating twice as much seafood per person as we did 50 years ago. And while that may sound alarm bells, there's still cause for hope. The new 3-part series, Hope in the Water, asks the question, is there a sustainable way forward to ensure we protect our threatened seafood ecosystems while also meeting our consumption needs? The series explores the groundbreaking work of dedicated fishers, aquafarmers, and scientists who are attempting what was once thought impossible, harvesting aquatic species to feed our growing planet while saving our oceans. This is reminding me of... I shared this in the Discord. There was an article on... This is from 2023. It's called Saved by Seaweed. Nuns and Native Women Heal Polluted New York Waters Using Kelp. So this kelp would not be edible, but it's helping to clean up the waters off the shores of Long Island, New York. So they started a kelp farm to try and clean up the polluted waters. Which I think is very cool. It's very cool. So anyways, back to aquaculture. What is aquaculture? So what exactly is aquaculture? Aquaculture is the farming of seafood like fish, shellfish, and algae in bodies of water. And not only is aquaculture the fastest growing form of food production today, but it has the potential to be the most environmentally friendly. So then they go on to talk about harvesting scallops, harvesting kelp, harvesting abalone and purple sea urchins, and that's it. Very cool. I don't know, is aquaculture the same as aquaponics? So aquaponics is the practice of combining aquaculture and hydroponics. And so hydroponics is growing plants without soil. There you go. So there's hydroponics, there's aquaponics, and there's aquaculture. These are all three different things. I would love to learn more about hydroponics and aquaponics, because I think it would be really cool to learn how to set that up myself. I don't know how feasible that is, but I think it would be cool. It would be cool. So here's a brief thing on just explaining the difference between hydroponics, aquaponics, and aquaculture. In today's agricultural climate, we're continually searching for new and better ways to grow and provide the food that people need to be healthy without harming the environment. To this end, there are several trends currently shaping our food production system. You may have heard words like hydroponics, aquaculture, and aquaponics. What are these practices and how are they different? What is aquaculture? In a traditional aquaculture system, fish are grown in contained environments as aquatic livestock. Sometimes these are nets or other structures placed within natural water habitats. Other times these are tanks or human-made ponds cut off from natural water sources. When growing fish in human-made facilities, growers must carefully filter the water to remove fish waste and maintain a healthy habitat. And so aquaculture, as we heard from PBS, also includes planting kelp forests, and scallops, and abalone and sea urchin. What is hydroponics? Hydroponics is a method of growing plants without soil. Instead, plant roots have direct access to water sources that contain all of the nutrients they need to grow and thrive. These systems are often indoors with controlled microclimates, allowing for precise environmental conditions to ensure maximum plant growth with minimal exposure to risks like pests, frost, flooding, and the like. This will enable growers to harvest a significant quantity of high-quality produce with almost no chance of loss due to climate or contamination. These vertical indoor farms can be grown in areas where there is no space for traditional agriculture. They can also grow year-round regardless of climate or weather conditions. For many, it is a great hope that hydroponic farms will eliminate food deserts, providing fresh and healthy greens and other produce to underserved communities. Hydroponics, when done correctly, is also an incredibly sustainable practice. Surprisingly, it uses far less water than traditional agriculture by recycling water through the system again and again. It also doesn't contribute to soil degradation, a significant concern in the world today. And so soil degradation is oftentimes it can come as a result due to traditional agriculture practices like monoculture. So monoculture, keeping one crop and only one crop in the same plot. And if you don't switch the crop out, if you don't rotate the crops, over time the soil can become degraded. Yes. So this is why rotating your crops is important. It's also why permaculture has started to be talked about in smaller scales. I lost my train of thought. That happens though. But I quite like permaculture. I think it's very fascinating. I would love to someday, if I ever have the space, to start trying to set up a small permaculture food forest. Yeah, I just think it would be really cool, and then being able to provide that food to people. I don't know, it's one of those things that like it scratches an itch in my brain. Okay, and then so finally, what is aquaponics? Aquaponics blends hydroponics and aquaculture together. Plants filter the water by pulling fish waste out of it. The fish waste provides nutrients that the plants need to grow. In most cases, the growers supplement with additional nutrients to create ideal growing conditions for aquaponic crops. An aquaponics system functions as a symbiotic relationship in which the fish provide nutrients to the plants, and the plants keep the fish healthy by cleaning their water. Which is pretty cool. Love symbiosis. So that was just a little bit on aquaponics, hydroponics, and aquaculture. switching trains of thought entirely, PBS also has an article on the dazzling, daring history of disco by Ashley Sierra. This was published on June 25th this year. Whether you were on the dance floor in the late 1970s or just heard your first Donna Summer song, you've probably felt the bright, groovy beats of disco. But did you know that this genre has always been more than dance music? Disco was an innovation that encouraged people to enjoy the world and each other instead of focusing on fear. Just as importantly, it was a social, political, and cultural movement uniting communities too often barred from mainstream artistic expression. What defines disco? The word disco comes from discotheque, a kind of dance club known for playing popular music. As both a genre and a subculture, disco was most popular in the 1970s, contributing to the decade's reputation for freedom, fun, funk, and fashion. The music itself had a unique sound: synthesizers, electric instruments, a beat rhythm, and the four-on-the-floor disco drum beat pioneered by Earl Young. From Love to Love You by Donna Summer to YMCA by the Village People, disco left a clear legacy and even inspired artists in other genres, including pop and rock. However, as you'll learn in Disco's Soundtrack of a Revolution, disco's huge influence made it a quick target for appropriation and change by outside forces. These days, knowing the original history and definition of disco is a way to acknowledge its creators. The birth of disco. Picture this. It's the early 1970s and the world is as tangled as the cord on your wall phone. From the Stonewall riots in the Vietnam War to the Beatles disbanding and The Godfather hitting theaters, things are coming together just as fast as they're falling apart. This is especially true in New York, where economic upheaval has left whole neighborhoods struggling. Although hard times are hitting everyone, much of the trouble disproportionately impacts the areas people of color call home. It's like shaking a can of Strawberry Crush. Things are going to blow up, and it might just be psychedelic. What is Strawberry Crush? Is this a soda? Berry Crush. Oh. It is. It's a soda. Does Crush also make orange soda? I feel like that's what I've seen before. They do. That's where I know it from. They also make orange soda. So Crush is a brand of carbonated soft drinks owned and marketed internationally by Keurig Dr. Pepper, originally created as an orange soda, Orange Crush. Okay. Back to disco. It's like shaking a can of Strawberry Crush. Things are going to blow up, and it might just be psychedelic. Of course, when the young disc jockey David Mancuso hosts a private party at his loft in downtown Manhattan, he doesn't know any of this. He's just hoping his big Valentine's Day 1970 bash will earn him some rent money. Instead, he helps kickstart a revolution, and the rest is history. The loft welcomed everyone, celebrating liberation movements and ignoring the often oppressive limits of legality. At the time, the music was danceable R&B, but as similar clubs popped up around the city, DJs looked for music that would appeal to their diverse audiences, and a new sound started to develop. In 1973, Vince Aletti wrote about the revolution in Rolling Stone. For the first time, he described the hardcore dance crowd, including blacks, Latins, and gays, that congregated in underground clubs. From there, someone shortened the word discotheque, and suddenly the movement had a name. The future was looking funky. disco more than music. The newly christened disco gave different communities a safe space to celebrate love and liberation. It was an opportunity to find people who looked like you, thought like you, and perhaps most importantly, danced like you. This was especially liberating for the LGBTQ community. Oppression came from the legal system and friends, neighbors, colleagues, and police. It was illegal for two people of the same sex to dance together, let alone have public relationships. Even when a 1971 law made same-sex dancing legal in New York City, wider society refused to tolerate it. For many, being queer became about looking out for each other, and disco was one way to do that. While mainstream culture had its own hotspots, disco clubs, parties, and bars remained underground, beyond the law and outside of judgment. This gave members of the LGBTQ community the space they needed to be themselves. Overjoyed to freely express their identities, artists and fans alike latched onto themes of sexuality, love, and liberation, topics that went on to inform the whole disco genre. That's partially thanks to clubs like Studio 54, created as a playground for sex, drugs, and disco. Of course, it wasn't just the dancing that brought people together. Disco itself was an art, and its artists were often refugees from other genres. Top charts in the 1970s were heavily segregated, meaning that Black performers had little hope of beating out the Beatles or Creedence Clearwater Revival. Unless, of course, they were happy to perform tight-laced versions of R&B for their whole lives. Fortunately for the future of music, many artists weren't about to settle. That was certainly the case for Gloria Gaynor, who struggled to find success on rock charts often built around straight white male performers. She packed up and transplanted to a new genre, one where diverse voices were allowed to sing about otherwise taboo topics. It wasn't long before she became one of the era's top soul divas and eventually recorded the first record specifically mixed for discotheques, Never Can Say Goodbye. Gloria Gaynor. Did she write I Will Survive? Yes. Yes. It was only a matter of time before these two worlds collided. Black and LGBTQ artists found acceptance and celebration in each other's communities, turning mainstream society's unwelcome wannabes into underground culture's mirror ball icons. Themes of freedom and fun were especially treasured in groups where these things had been denied for so long. In this way, disco became a patchwork subculture of communities, formats, and art styles, its rhythm informed by rebellion against oppression. It clearly said, if you won't accept us in your world, we'll make our own. Top disco artists included Donna Summer, a Black artist famous for Love to Love You, a record running longer than 16 minutes and celebrating sexual themes. The Village People, a disco group based on tongue-in-cheek gay stereotypes known for YMCA and Macho Man. Sylvester, a flamboyant drag queen-esque Black artist famous for weaving gospel into disco, funk, and soul. Larry Levin, a legendary DJ at Paradise Garage. However, as the music gained attention outside of marginalized spaces, popular culture took disco right out of its creators' hands and changed the movement forever. Down with disco, the backlash against disco themes. By the late 1970s, disco had morphed into something unrecognizable. Hold on, my throat is starting to hurt. Doing a little stretch. Okay. By the late 1970s, disco had morphed into something unrecognizable. Saturday Night Fever hit the silver screen in 1977, but instead of featuring original disco artists, the film put the Bee Gees in the spotlight. The Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart, and other non-disco performers also jumped on the genre, giving power to the record labels, charts, and radios that once spurned its unique sound. Oh, Rod Serling. That's what I was thinking of. I heard Rod Stewart, and I was like, the Twilight Zone narrator? But the Twilight Zone narrator is Rod Serling. Not Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart, different. Rod Stewart is a British rock and pop singer and songwriter. Okay. The Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart, and other non-disco performers also jumped on the genre, giving power to the record labels, charts, and radios that once spurned its unique sound. The market became oversaturated with songs that many felt had abandoned the original soul and culture. Disco fans couldn't stand the commercialized take on something that belonged to them, blaming mainstream culture for favoring songs like Disco Duck. Mainstream culture, meanwhile, pointed the finger right back at disco for sidelining other music, particularly rock. Tensions rose between groups, and while artists suffered, record labels profited. But that wasn't the only cause of strife. There was plenty of distaste for the often sexualized themes and behavior in disco songs, performances, and spaces, earning concern from religious groups and other disapproving parties. Because these topics were so heavily intertwined with LGBTQ+ identities and freedom, both things that were constantly under attack, the anti-disco perspective quickly became the anti-gay perspective. There was also backlash against marginalized performers breaking the comfortable boxes that other people had put them into. For example, society often expected Black women to look innocent and avoid taboo topics in art, but performers like Candy Staton and the girl group LaBelle didn't agree. They released songs like Young Hearts Run Free, about domestic violence experiences, and Lady Marmalade, about sex work, respectively. The tension came to a head on July 12, 1979 at Comiskey Park, a baseball stadium in Chicago. Visitors took to the field for a disco demolition led by radio personality Steve Dahl, who'd previously lost his job when his employer switched to an all-disco playlist. While rock fans said the movement was about differences in musical style, disco artists pointed back to anti-Black, anti-gay sentiments. Nonetheless, with the beginning of the AIDS epidemic following soon after, many felt that the so-called war on disco had successfully silenced the genre. The revolution and evolution of disco. Was there ever a moment when every disco album was burnt, every mirror ball was still, and every pair of dancing shoes had been hidden under the bed? Probably not. The heartbeat of the genre wouldn't be stopped. The communities that had created disco took what was left and wove it into something new, primarily house music. The genre's first beats rang out in Chicago, where the openly gay producer, remixer, and DJ, Frankie Knuckles, was working at an industrial building turned dance club. Knuckles played all kinds of music, but it was his experimental work with different beats that led to something new. Taking its name from the club, house music is a type of electronic dance music that carries the four-on-the-floor disco beats. Although the first people who heard it were likely the gay Black men who frequented the warehouse, this genre has become something even bigger. New artists from Madonna and Bruno Mars to Lizzo and Beyoncé continue to carry that groovy torch, and so will future generations of listeners, dancers, DJs, and creators. So that was... Let me scroll back up. That was The Dazzling Daring History of Disco by Ashley Sierra on the PBS website. An article about or I think, not about, but in relation to the show, the PBS show, Disco, Soundtrack of a Revolution. The more you know. The more you know. I don't know if I have that much else to talk about today. Brain has slowly but surely, I feel like at the beginning of the stream, I was able to put my thoughts into words a little bit better, but now slowly but surely, as the stream has gone on, I'm struggling to think, because my brain fog increases over time, unfortunately. But that's okay. It's about learning to exist as yourself and being okay with that. Even as you change and what you can do and what you can't do as these things change, that you are still here and you still exist, even if it's different from how you once existed or how you once thought you might exist. That these changes happen. They happen, you know? Especially when you are disabled. I mean, they happen to everyone in general as you age, as you get older, but sometimes there can be a particular kind of grief or of struggling to adjust when you are young and disabled. But it's however you exist is however you exist, and there's no right or wrong way to exist. We live in an infinite universe with infinite possibilities and infinite ways to exist, and however you show up in your existence, in your life, day to day, hour to hour, minute by minute, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to how do I put it? I don't know. My train of thought is gone. As I said, my brain fog is quite. It's slowly rolling in. It's been slowly rolling in for the past 2 hours as we've streamed. And that's okay. It's okay. I can appreciate the time that we've had together here on the stream today. The reading that we've done, some of the stuff that we've learned about the coast and Rachel Carson, hydroponics, aquaponics, aquaculture, and then we veered off from the ocean related stuff, and we did a brief little read about disco as well. You know, and I like being able to just follow all of these different little like paths, you know, and being able to jump from thought to thought and do either a little dive or a deep dive into any number of different things as we come across them. I think that's very fun and I greatly enjoy that. Yeah. Think I might call it here for today and go rest. Maybe I'll take a nap. A nap sounds really nice right now. So maybe I'll go do that. I'll curl up under a bit of sunlight, like a little cat, and take a nap. I think that sounds wonderful. So in the future, we'll maybe be doing more of this. Some of these combination ASMR and just chatting streams, kind of just chatting about whatever is going on in life, in the world. You know, if y'all have stuff you want to talk about what's going on in your life or what's going on in the world, you know, by all means. If you just want to hear me ramble on and follow all of the different tangents in my brain, we can do that. We can read some more excerpts of some of the different books I have, and then during each ASMR stream, if you cheer, if you sub, if you gift a sub, or if you tip on Ko-Fi, you can choose one or a few of the things from off of the list that I've made. That I'll pin. I'll pin in the chat each ASMR stream, and it's the ASMR command, so exclamation point ASMR. You can choose from off of that document, any one of those, like sounds, to redeem, and we'll do that. But today we were just getting started, so not a lot of tingles. I don't think not a lot of triggers. It was mainly just chatting in a low, quiet voice, and that's okay. That's okay because I enjoy that as well. So again, thank you all so much for being here. If you were chatting, I appreciate you. If you were lurking, I appreciate you. Yes. And I will see you all in another universe. Goodbye.